Coming in at number 5, we have the Torman family's bunk beds. So the item itself doesn't sound very scary because it's just a bunk bed, but it was the source of intense terror and trauma for the Torman family. In 1987, Ali and Debbie Torman bought a bunk bed from a secondhand store and brought it to their home in Horicon, Wisconsin. They stored the bed in the basement until one day they decided to move it upstairs. From the moment someone slept in the bed, an evil entity was unleashed into their home and all hell broke loose. Their children, who were usually healthy, began falling sick for no apparent reason. The radio in the bedroom with the haunted bunk bed would turn on. The kids reported seeing a menacing old woman with long black hair and a fiery glow. Doors slammed open and they heard disembodied voices from empty rooms. Strange paranormal occurrences were running rampant. As the haunting intensified, the Tormans enlisted their pastor for help with the dire situation. The pastor said that he felt the presence of evil and blessed their home. This was to no avail, and the Tormans unfortunately continued to be tormented. In a fit of frustration, Alan shouted at the entity to pick on him and not his children. Challenge accepted because shortly after he witnessed the orange glow of fire inside his garage with red eyes staring at him through the window. Then one night while sleeping in the kids' room to protect them, a fog manifested out of the floor. It morphed into flames with green eyes and a voice spoke out of it telling him, "You're dead." Enough was enough and the Tormans fled their home. The bunk bed was then buried in a landfill so no one would have to go through what the Torman family did. The house still stands today and reports of paranormal activity ceased once the bunk bed was removed. Coming in at number 4, the Basano vase. Most people wouldn't mind being gifted a vase from Italy, especially one cast from silver in the 15th century, but the Basano vase is said to be extremely haunted and cursed. The vase was apparently gifted to an Italian bride on her wedding night who lived in a small village close to Napoli. Her big day was ruined, however, when she was found dying on the floor with the vase in her hand, swearing to get revenge. The vase was then passed down to people in her family. With each new owner came another mysterious death, so the family locked it away. In 1988, the Basano vase was found with a note inside that read, "Beware, this vase brings death." Ignoring the warning, the vase was then sold at an auction. 3 months later, the new owner was dead. The owner after that died 2 months later. After a string of mysterious deaths, the police decided to bury the vase somewhere no one would find it. It's said to still be hidden away even today. Whether the vase was cursed or it's the angry spirit of the bride, that's up for debate. All I know is that I'm glad this haunted relic is no longer in circulation. Coming in at number 3, Robert the Doll. Residing behind a glass barrier in a Florida museum is Robert the Doll. This little guy is one of the most haunted dolls in the world, and I think we can all agree that he's absolutely terrifying. While his little sailor outfit is cute, his worn and torn face is something only a mother could love. He's so haunted that he's said to cause car accidents, broken bones, divorces, and a plethora of other misfortunes. If you dare disrespect the doll by taking its picture without permission, he will curse you. This is why his exhibit is littered with letters from people begging for forgiveness. But before the century-old doll was combined to a life behind a protective barrier, he belonged to Robert Eugene Otto, who went by the name Gene. Gene's grandfather bought him the doll in Germany and the pair were inseparable. Strange things started happening. Gene began having full-blown conversations with the doll. Many nights the family would be woken up by his screams, only to find a frightened Gene surrounded by overturned furniture and scattered toys. He insisted that Robert did it. Things would move around the house and stuff would break. Again, Gene insisted that Robert did it. His parents were skeptical but also unnerved by the strange events going on in the house. Even people who passed by the Otto house in Key West, Florida, claimed to see the doll peering out the window at them. Although Robert the Doll is now locked away in a museum, his apparent ability to curse people is still strong as ever. Those brave enough to visit him are urged to be careful or else they might find themselves cursed by the haunted doll. Coming in at number 2, we have Dibbuk box. Known as the most haunted object in the world, this vintage wine cabinet is locked in a glass box at Zach Bagans' Haunted Museum. In fact, you have to be over 18 and sign a waiver just to set eyes on it. In Jewish folklore, a Dibbuk is a malicious spirit with the ability to possess living people and use them for evil. These spirits can be trapped inside of a box to prevent this, which is why the Dibbuk box is supposedly home to an evil entity. The Dibbuk box was listed on eBay several years ago and it became a sensation. The seller, Kevin Manis, claimed to have purchased it from the estate of a woman who survived a World War II concentration camp. The woman's granddaughter, who was absolutely terrified of the box, warned him that her grandmother said it held the spirit of a Dibbuk. Following Following his purchase, Kevin experienced a series of terrifying unexplained events. He would have nightmares of an old hag who would brutally attack him, and then wake up covered in bruises. His mother also apparently suffered a stroke after opening the Dibbuk box. He decided to get rid of it for obvious reasons, and it eventually ended up in the hands of Zach Bagans for his museum. Museum goers can look at the Dibbuk box but can't touch it, and for good reasons. Post Malone did a private tour of the museum with Zach and found himself cursed by the evil spirit. Zach removed the protective glass around the haunted wine cabinet and decided to place his hands directly on it. Post Malone then touched Zach's shoulder, and that's all it took. In less than a month, his private jet was forced to make an emergency landing, his house was broken into by armed robbers, and then he got into a car accident. Safe to say that is one haunted relic that should stay locked away forever. And finally, in at number 1 we have Annabelle. In the number 1 spot is a doll so haunted, so notorious, and so creepy that she's had 3 horror movies made about her. The real Annabelle isn't actually a wide-eyed porcelain doll, but an innocent-looking Raggedy Ann who lives at Ed and Lorraine Warren's occult museum. But don't be fooled by her unassuming look, she's considered extremely haunted and dangerous. So haunted in fact that she permanently resides in a wooden box with a copy of the Lord's Prayer and a label reading, "Warning, positively do not open." In true Hollywood fashion, Annabelle's origin story was altered quite a bit. The real story of Annabelle started with 2 nurses who lived together as roommates in the 70s, when one was gifted the doll by her mother. Soon after, the girls began noticing that Annabelle would move on her own, finding her sitting in a different position and even in different rooms. The haunting escalated when they found parchment paper with the words "Help me" written in crayon scattered around their place. The girls didn't even own parchment paper. After more unexplained events, they decided to contact a medium who told them that the spirit of a 6 or 7-year-old girl named Annabelle died in the area around their apartment complex and was living inside of the doll. Things only got worse and Annabelle became violent with Lou, a boyfriend of one of the nurses. He claimed to have been strangled by the doll while sleeping and even suffered 7 claw-like slashes on his body after throwing her across the room on a separate occasion. Annabelle is known to be violent with people who dare to taunt her. Ed Warren believes that the doll is responsible for at least 1 death, that of a museum goer. According to the late paranormal investigator, a young man and his girlfriend visited the occult museum. Stupidly, the man decided to mock Annabelle by tapping on the glass and telling her to scratch him like he scratched Lou. The couple was kicked out and the man died approximately 3 hours later when he lost control of his motorcycle and hit a tree. Although the Raggedy Ann doll is locked away behind a wooden box, complete with the Lord's Prayer, it seems that Annabelle's evil prowess simply cannot be contained.
Number 5. The organ. Music is the basis of like every good horror movie, isn't it? Music playing from the other room by itself? Yeah, that scares the shit out of me. When I forget my Bluetooth is on and I hear the music from the other room, my heart skips a beat. And there's some Shakespeare sonnets on there, you know, so it sounds like some dudes in the other room just talking to me in Old English. Well, there's actually an instrument that plays by itself, apparently, every night around 9 p.m. Unless it has priests bless it to keep it only wood and ivory. Apparently it likes to play a little number or two from the other side. Residing in the Warrens Occult Museum in Monroe, Connecticut, Ed Warren, the husband of the famous demonologist duo, apparently likes his classic music. Well, not live, I should say. He obtained the organ apparently after authorities cleaned out a haunted house owned by Reverend Eliakim Phelps in Stratford, Connecticut. Somebody from the authority at the city of Stratford reached out to Ed asking him if he'd be interested in obtaining a musical instrument in which needed some special handling. Nothing like a dusty old haunted organ, like the old hockey games in churches organs, you know? Apparently one night Ed was woken up by the sounds of the chords of the organ being played. It was late at night, so naturally Ed thought maybe someone had broken in and was fiddling downstairs with the instrument. Ed went down to check it out, and as soon as he entered the museum where the Warrens' haunted items are kept, the organ would just stop. Yeah, creepy. And also annoying. Like, why do ghosts always do that? It's so like trickster of them, you know? This would happen over and over and over again. The organ finally stayed quiet semi-permanently when after the Warrens asked a priest to bless the organ on a regular basis. Apparently it needed to be continuously cleansed or else the mysterious pianist would start their eerie tune again. Yeah, organs have to be the scariest instrument on this planet. So Halloween-y sounding, you know what I mean? And so Dracula-ish. Toccata in D minor, just Number 4, the wedding dress. Your wedding day is supposed to be the happiest day of your life, isn't it? Dressed to the nines, till death do us part, cake smashed into your face, yada yada yada, and of course, that iconic wedding dress, you know? Yeah, it's tradition. So what's this wedding dress doing in the Warrens Occult Museum then? Well, the official story behind the white gown in the Occult Museum is that of the White Lady of Union Graveyard. She has been spotted for decades. Many claim they have seen the lady in white at Union Cemetery. She's said to walk the graveyard at night, and locals tell us they've also seen her on nearby roads. Union Cemetery sits just off the junction of routes 59 and 136 in Easton, Connecticut. The legend goes, it's the home of a spiritual entity that allegedly walks the property. I can tell you that now for a fact that this place is haunted. It's one of the most haunted places around, said Lorraine Warren herself. Yeah, and she's seen some stuff in her time. One of the most infamous encounters is that late one night a man was driving down Stepney Road in his pickup truck just past Union Cemetery. Out of nowhere, a woman in a white dress appeared in the middle of the road. The man couldn't slow down in time and struck the woman head on. When the man screeched to the side of the road, there was no sight of the woman he had hit. Apparently this happens more often than you think on that road. Whoever she was, apparently the couple has her dress locked in the Museum of the Occult Finds and deems it spooky enough to leave it alone. Number 3. The Purple Sapphire. Well, not really a sapphire, but actually an amethyst. The spiky purple quartz looking thing. Hey, who said that haunted to hell items can't be precious and beautiful? Well, don't say that, because apparently this one is cursed, like cursed. The mysterious Delhi purple sapphire is now permanently on display as part of the Natural History Museum's vault collection of precious gemstones. The mysterious stone is rumored to have been stolen by a British soldier from the Temple of Indra, the Hindu god of war and weather, in Kanpur, India, during the Indian Mutiny of 1857. It was brought to England by Colonel W. Ferris, whose family then supposedly suffered many financial and many health problems. I love how financials first. The stone was given to Edward Heron Allen, a scientist and writer, in 1890, who claimed to have started having bad things happen to him and those who were lucky enough or unlucky enough to see or hold it. He came to the conclusion it was hexed with a curse, and eventually decided to have it stored away in a bank vault inside 7 locked boxes with a note of warning to anyone who dare handle it. Allen warned that the Delhi purple sapphire is cursed and is stained with blood and the dishonor of everyone who has ever owned it. Weary of its alleged powers, he kept it locked away in 7 boxes and surrounded by good luck charms. He also left strict instructions not to remove the amethyst until 33 years after his death. It's very specific. Heron Allen's own daughter was forbidden under every circumstance to even touch or handle the stone, which, half a year after her father's death, she donated the amethyst to the Natural History Museum where it's on display today. Okay, so his own daughter donated this thing. She didn't even want it. That's a little spooky. Now, I mean, he was a writer, and writers can exaggerate sometimes, but not giving it to his own daughter and her not wanting it at all after his death? That sounds a little bizarre to me. Number 2, the haunted book. Okay, so sometimes we all find spooky doodles from the past we drew as kids. Finding old spooky pictures or letters written, that can be fun and great for scary stories. Apparently I drew aliens a lot. Yeah, who'd have thought? This next item holds more than just letters though. It holds power. This haunted book was given to Brighton's very own haunted house, Preston Manor, after a Kent family who owned it claimed it caused them to be plagued by ghostly visitors and spectral visions. A haunted ledger which was found bricked up behind a shop wall has been acquired by the museum. Phew. The ledger was donated by Josephine Beniovitz. The book was discovered by her father, Tony Beniovitz, in 1988 when he was demolishing a shop which closed in 1984. Having taken it home, the father and daughter believed they suffered a number of spiritual visions and images of men, women, children, and apparently soldiers on horseback. The ledger, which dates from the First World War, was a clue at maybe who was visiting them. The daughter was told by one of the spirits that the book must be returned to Brighton where its first entry was written, which was in December 1915. The terrified family delivered it to Preston Manor, which is known for its paranormal occurrences and spiritual events. A medium visiting the house inspected the book and confirmed that they could sense evil omens emanating from its pages. It remains locked up only to be viewed after cleansed. Yeah, I don't think I'm going anywhere near this thing. Yeah, all those old books are usually wrapped in like someone's skin or something evil. Yeah. No thanks. And coming at the number 1 spot, the Iceman. This definitely had to be my number 1 spot. And it's not my favorite UFC fighter, Chuck Liddell. But this is the most terrifying find of all. Not really much of an item either, but more like a 5,000-year-old frozen and perfectly preserved human mummy that was discovered in 1991 in the Ötztal Alps in Italy. Ötzi, of course, is the name researchers chose to name the mummy for obvious location reasons. This frozen mummy is of a man who believed to have lived 5,300 years ago. Ötzi is believed to have been apparently murdered before being frozen in its time. This is claimed after the discovery of an arrowhead found embedded in his left shoulder and various other wounds on his body. He also has multiple different DNA types on his clothes, suggesting suggesting he was in combat or in danger in his last moments. The nature of his life and the circumstances of his death need more investigation, but scientists believe he's Europe's oldest natural known human mummy, offering a very shiny new view of the Copper Age. A huge glacier surrounded him after he died of exposure and preserved his body in a mile-high ice cube. However, this is where it really gets spooky. Once unearthed, rumors of a curse surfaced too and grew stronger as people linked to him began to die, often in accidents or natural health problems. All in all, so far 7 deaths have been tied or loosely related to Otzi's de-thawing, including forensic pathologist who was killed in a car accident en route to give a speech about Otzi the Iceman, a mountaineer who died in an avalanche, a hiker who discovered the Iceman on a hike with his wife and later perished after falling down a treacherous path. A molecular archaeologist was found dead in his home after he was finalizing a book about Otzi. The head of the forensic team died of a heart attack, another discoverer died of a brain tumor, and another researcher perished of multiple sclerosis. Yo, say what you will about curses if you believe them or not, when people start dropping all involved in this one find, there's gotta be some sort of otherworldly connection going on here. Whatever the case may be, this find is one of the most scientifically precious and also one of the most spiritually terrifying. Should we study this mummy some more and unearth more mysteries of the past, or should we risk the lives of those who study it? Number 5. The Ring of Sylvianus. The Vine Ring, aka the Ring of Sylvianus, is a gold ring dating back to the 4th century AD. The ring was discovered in the fields of a farm in 1785 in Hampshire, England. Originally the property of a British Roman named Sylvianus, apparently it was stolen by a person named Sylvianus, upon which Sylvianus hexed the ring with a curse. That's right. In 1888, the owner of the property wrote about the ring in a history of his property, which is now a National Trust property. The ring went on display there in April 2013, where it's been ever since. Oddly, in 1929, during excavations of the site of the Roman Temple of Nodens at Lydney Park, archaeologist Sir Mortimer Wheeler discovered the now apparent curse that goes with said ring. Consulting shortly after with one J.R.R. Tolkien. That's interesting. The ring is apparently much larger than most rings as well and was perhaps made to be worn over gloves. The band of the ring has 10 edges. Among it is the goddess Venus engraved, along with the saying, "Live in God." Yeah, that's pretty awesome. The lore goes, while at the temple Sylvianus' gold ring vanished. Believing the thief to be an individual named Sylvianus, Sylvianus demanded supernatural justice. And at the Temple of Nodens, crafted and carved a hexed tablet known as the Curse Tablet, or Defixio. On the tablet, he wrote, quote, "For the god Nodens, Sylvianus has lost a ring and has donated 1/2 of its worth to Nodens. Among those named Sylvianus, permit no good health until it is returned to the Temple of Nodens." Yeah, that sounds like a spell to me. You better return that, buddy. Nodens is like Poseidon. Yeah, that's not good if he's out there looking for you. Number 4. Tutankhamun's trumpets. The trumpets are a pair that were first found in the burial chamber of the 18th dynasty pharaoh, famously known as King Tut. One sterling silver and one bronze. They are considered to be the oldest operational trumpets in the world, and the only known surviving examples from ancient Egypt. The trumpets were found in 1922 by Howard Carter during the excavation of Tutankhamun's tomb. Yeah, you know, the whole cursed tomb thing. The bronze trumpet was discovered in the tomb's antechamber in a large chest containing other military objects and walking sticks. The silver trumpet was found in the actual burial chamber. Both are engraved with decorative images of the gods. Similar looking trumpets feature in Egyptian wall paintings that are usually, but not always, but most associated with military and war. Silent for more than 3,000 years, the trumpets were played for a live audience of 150 million people through a BBC broadcast live in 1939. And then World War II happened. Because apparently the curator of the Tutankhamun collection at the Egyptian Museum says whenever someone blows into it, a war occurs. The same thing happened in 1967 and the 1991 Gulf War when a student was doing research on Tutankhamun's collection and gave her a whirl. Yeah. The bronze trumpet was one of the artifacts stolen from the Egyptian Museum in Cairo during the Egyptian looting riots in 2011 and then, hilariously enough, returned weeks later. Yeah, apparently it's like really cursed, like haunted cursed. Guy didn't want it anymore. Shocker. Number 3, the statue of Osiris. And speaking of ancient Egypt, we arrive yet again at something stolen. The statue of Osiris. In 1971, during an excavation in Saqqara, Egyptologist Walter Bryan Emery found a small statue of the Egyptian god of death, Osiris. He and his assistant returned to the dig site's office in a nearby village as Emery took the statue of Osiris with him. Once at his house, Emery went to the bathroom to shower, and after moments, his assistant began to hear Emery screaming. He found him clutching the sink, clearly experiencing some kind of trauma. His assistant said that Emery stood there paralyzed. I grabbed him by the shoulders and dragged him onto the couch. Then I ran for the telephone. Emery was diagnosed with paralysis of the right side of his body and was unable to speak. He actually died the following day. Talk about curse of the pharaohs. It's been said that there was a possession of a Canadian woman who believed her home had also become haunted by said statue. The woman gave it to the Ontario Museum, which returned it home to Egypt. Have we seen this video of said statue moving on its own? Like, this is from a Manchester museum, and this thing is just moving on its own all day. Yeah, this god's pretty powerful, and this stuff needs to be respected, you know? And returned. Like, you can't just steal stuff and throw it up in a museum overseas. Especially the stuff that clearly says in hieroglyphics, do not remove this, you will be cursed. We're uncovering more and more buried Egypt every day. Just please be respectful and leave the stuff alone after discovering and documenting it. And whatever you do, don't play any more instruments, okay? Number 2, ballista balls. Almost 2,000 stones were found during archaeological excavations in the Gamla Natural Reserve, of which the ancient Jewish city of Golan Heights used to sit. This is the site where the largest number of ballista stones from the early Roman period were found. Basically, these little sanded stones are perfectly smooth and perfectly designed for ancient machine gun slingshots. Oh yeah, and of course, by sling or hand. In 2020, a ballista ball in Israel was returned to the authorities 15 years after it was stolen. Apparently the balls were very cursed. Why was this particular ballista stone considered to be so cursed? Who knows? The artifact has been returned by an anonymous person under the name Moshe Manis. According to Moshe, the thief who stole the ballista stone stole it in 2005 when they were a teenager. Yeah. Oh yeah, it's definitely not me. No, it's a friend of mine. Yeah, no, definitely not me. Him and his friends were touring a display of ballista stones at the Jerusalem Walls National Park in the city of David. These ballista stones were used by the Romans when they were fighting in Jerusalem in 70 AD as part of the first Jewish-Roman war, known also as the Great Jewish Revolt. The man returned the 2,000-year-old Roman ballista balls from Gamla and actually wrote a little note on it saying, quote, "These are 2 Roman ballista balls from Gamla, from a residential quarter of the foot of the summit. I stole them in July 1995, and since then, they have brought me nothing but trouble. Please do not steal antiques." You said it, buddy. Those stones have seen their fair share of bloodshed. You don't want any part of that smoke. And coming in at number 1, the wailing skull. Our number 1 spot, of course, the one that scares me the most. Skull banshees screaming throughout the middle of the night. Oh yeah, just screeching ghost heads. You know this is a thing, right? Like way more common than we think. Like, they're like everywhere. Burton Agnes Hall is in East Yorkshire, was built in 1598 during the reign of Elizabeth I by 3 sisters of the Griffith family. The youngest sister, Anne, was apparently attacked. They beat her after she apparently refused to give them her belongings. Locals heard her cries and came to her rescue and returned her home, though sadly perishing 5 days later. On her deathbed, she requested that the head be placed within the walls of the unfinished manor. The family ignored her request, and after she was buried and the house's construction was complete, the sisters began to hear sinister noises throughout the empty house. Well, screams, actually. The sisters returned to their family's vault to fulfill the past sister's request, and when they opened the tomb, the body was completely intact except for the now smiling skull across the room from the body. Okay, the head was taken back to the Burton Agnes Hall, and miraculously, the noises and disturbances stopped. It's like she asked to be there or something. The noises would only happen again when later residents tried to remove the skull from the premises. Yeah, I'd put that back immediately. Don't mess with people's scary like this, you know? The skull was later cemented in the walls for safety. Yeah, I'd hope so. Although the noises have stopped, Anne still makes a ghostly appearance apparently on the anniversary of her death. I don't know why people go around touching things, moving them around, like leave them where they layeth, you know?
In at number 5, we have the Hope diamond. Encrusted in this 45-carat dark greyish blue diamond is said to be an extremely deadly curse. It's absolutely beautiful and the name inspires warm fuzzy feelings, but its checkered past makes you question why it's called the Hope Diamond at all. The brilliant cushion cut stone is surrounded by a pendant comprising 16 white diamonds and a chain with 45. It's fit for a king, probably because it used to belong to one. But before King Louis XIV of France got his royal hands on it, it apparently came from a mine in India. For many years there was speculation that the incredible diamond was stolen from the eye of a Hindu statue, Indiana Jones style. It was said that the man who stole it was torn to pieces by dogs. There's no solid evidence of this, but the story of a deadly curse that plagued the diamond's owner certainly stuck. Over the years it was stolen, sold, recut, and did a lot of owner hopping. One thing apparently kept happening, however: people associated with the Hope Diamond would die. King Louis died of gangrene, and all of his legitimate children but one died in childhood. Marie Antoinette allegedly wore it, and we all know what happened to her. A man named Wilhelm Fors recut it in the 1800s, and his son ended up murdering him. More owner hopping and more death occurred until American jeweler Harry Winston purchased it and donated the diamond, probably out of the kindness of his heart, or possibly because it was haunted. Is the diamond actually haunted and cursed by the Hindu idol it was stolen from? Who knows. Today the Hope Diamond and its lavish setting, worth over $350 million by the way, is locked up at the Smithsonian behind bulletproof glass. Thanks to its casing, the curse seems to have died down, for now anyway. In at 4 we have the Rain Woman. I don't know why anyone would want to own this piece of art strictly because of how creepy it is. Seriously, it's so uncomfortable to look at. The Rain Woman was painted by Ukrainian artist Svetlana Telets, and how this painting came about is unnerving to say the least. The artist apparently always felt like something or someone was always with her, just silently watching over her. One day, sitting in front of a blank canvas, Svetlana had the sudden urge to draw a woman, as if someone was guiding her hand. She said that the contours of her face, the shades, the colours, everything, she could see every little detail. The haunted painting was then put on the market and sold, but kept being returned by the different buyers. The first lady to purchase the Rain Woman promptly returned it, stating that she felt like there was someone else in her apartment with her. Buyer number 2 followed suit, complaining of a shadow woman at night tormenting him and driving him to the edge of madness. The third buyer, a self-proclaimed skeptic, also returned it after seeing a lady with white eyes everywhere. Haunted or not, this painting is certainly creepy and not something I'd want hanging in my house. In at number 3 we have Thomas Busby's stoop chair. Okay, so technically this haunted item isn't locked away per se, but simply hung up high in a museum in the UK to avoid any more deaths. Don't worry, I'll explain. The death chair is said to be plagued by a 300-year-old curse bestowed upon it by murderer Thomas Busby. In 1702, Busby brutally murdered his father-in-law for apparently sitting in his favourite chair without permission. He was convicted and sentenced to death, but before his final moments, he was granted a last wish. Of course, he chose to have a drink in his favourite chair. According to local legend, he said minutes before his execution, "Death shall come swiftly to anyone that dares to sit in my chair." Death came to him as he was promptly hanged, but it also came to those he wished it upon. For years, people who dared to sit in Busby's death chair would meet a grim fate. A chimney sweeper, numerous World War II soldiers, and a man staying at the Busby Stoop Inn are all among the victims of this centuries-old hex, but trust me, there are more. Tired of accidents being linked to Thomas Busby's oak chair, it was donated to a museum where it still is today. Rather than locking away the historic relic altogether, they decided to hang it high on the wall so that no one would ever suffer from it again. Coming in at number 2 we have the woman from Lemb statue. Dubbed the goddess of death, the woman from Lemb statue is said to be a depiction of a fertility goddess. So how did it go from a goddess said to bring life to one that takes it away? Well, you can thank another deadly curse for that. This ancient haunted relic was unearthed in 1878 in Lemb, Cyprus, but its origins are much older than that, dating back to around 3500 BCE. The statue was carved from pure limestone, which has an interesting tie to the supernatural. Experts in the paranormal community believe that limestone is deeply connected to paranormal activity. The story of the alleged curse on this statue comes from the 4 families who previously owned it, all of which met an untimely fate. After the first man acquired the statue, all 7 members of his family died within 6 years. The second man had a similar experience, with his entire family dying within 4 years. This unfortunate pattern continued, and then the third family to own it died within 4 years as well. The woman from the Lemb disappeared for a while until the fourth and final family suffered at the hands of it. Sir Alan Biverbrook, alongside his wife and 2 daughters, passed away. His 2 surviving sons donated the statue to the Royal Scottish Museum. The woman from the Lemb remains today behind protective glass at that very museum. And finally, in at number 1 we have the Anguished Man. Is anyone really surprised that this piece of art is haunted? The Anguished Man, an oil painting created by an unknown artist, is rivaled by the likes of Annabelle and the Dibbuk box for the most haunted item in the world. Story goes that the artist who created the horrifying piece actually mixed his own blood into the paint. Shortly after finishing the painting, he took his own life. The current owner, Sean Robinson, says that his grandma gave it to him with the warning that it is extremely dangerous. Ripe with paranormal activity, the painting is believed to be the source of a string of traumatic experiences for Sean and his family when they had it stored in their home. Sean would wake up to see a faceless figure standing in his bedroom, and his wife once woke up to something lying in bed with her. But the final straw was when their son was violently pushed down the stairs. Sean began posting videos of their paranormal activity online and garnered tons of attention. Rumors that this haunted painting was up for sale circulated the internet a few years back. Thankfully, this couldn't be further from the truth, as the Anguished Man is still securely locked away to protect the world from its horrors. Coming in at number 5 we have Demon House Staircase. The Demon House in Gary, Indiana was the center of a docudrama in 2018. Zach Bagans tells the story of a family struggling with the hauntings and even possessions that happened in the home. It is claimed that the house contains around 200 spirits. The Gary Police Department investigated on numerous occasions, and priests even performed numerous exorcisms. When the family first moved into the home, despite cold December temperatures, large black flies swarmed their screened-in porch, and they kept coming back even when the family killed them and killed them. After that, they started to hear footsteps around the house going up and down from the basement. They claimed things got worse from there when the demons attached to the children. They said that the kids' eyes bulged, their voice deepened, and they sported evil smiles while possessed. One of the family members described what it felt like to be killed and walked up the wall in the presence of their family case manager and hospital nurse. Once Zach investigated the goings-on in the house, it was decided it would be best to bulldoze the home. However, he did keep pieces of the home, such as the staircase, to store away in his museum. In at number 4 we have Peggy the doll. It is said that even just looking at a picture of Peggy can cause hauntings, from your computer freezing to the room going cold and light bulbs blowing out whenever you mention the doll. The first known owner of the doll started having dreams haunted by the doll. She would wake up feeling hot and shaken. No matter where she moved the doll, the dreams persisted. She called in the help of 2 local priests, but after 2 visits the dreams still persisted. After suffering a fever and hallucinations, she sought help from the Haunted Doll Museum. Their team then set out to get to the bottom of these hauntings. They came to the conclusion that the woman had been possessed by the spirit of a woman born in 1946 in London, who died of a chest condition, possibly asthma. They had psychic mediums study the doll, and they all concluded Peggy was restless, frustrated, and previously persecuted, possibly with ties to the Holocaust. Peggy was on display for some time at the Haunted Doll Museum, and there were further reports of her coming to people in their dreams. She was since purchased by the Zach Bagans Haunted Museum in Vegas, where she is currently locked away in a display. Coming in at number 3, the Mummy's Curse. Technically, the Mummy's Curse is not on the actual mummy, but on the lid that once held her. It is unknown who was once held within it, but it was a woman of a high status from the 21st or 22nd dynasty, 950 to 900 BC. The curse has a few stories attached to it, and some even think that she caused the disaster of the Titanic. This mysterious mummy was found at Thebes in the late 1800s. It was brought in by 4 young Englishmen who all had untimely deaths. 2 of the men died in shooting accidents, and the other 2 died of poverty. A string of illnesses, accidents, and deaths followed by anyone who came into contact with the mummy. The most shocking claim is that some survivors of the Titanic blame the mummy for the sinking. Among the passengers of the Titanic was journalist William Thomas Stead, who had published a few articles about the curse. The survivors recalled Stead discussing the artifact and its curse over dinner. It is claimed he had purchased a ticket for himself to transport the artifact to New York. As the stories were told, its reputation grew, and many believed its presence on board caused the disaster. It is believed that in the chaos, someone bribed one of the guards to sneak the artifact onto a lifeboat to save the historic piece. Not long after arriving, the unlucky mummy was soon causing mayhem and misery at the home of its American owner, so he decided to send her back to Britain. Luckily, it is now safely locked away on display at the British Museum in London. However, visitors do still report unsettling sensations when viewing the unlucky mummy family's coffin lid. In at number 2 we have James Dean's Porsche. You don't hear of many haunted cars, but James Dean's Porsche has taken enough lives to be taken very seriously. As soon as James got his car, some people had a bad feeling around it, so Alec Guinness met with James for lunch and he showed him the car. Alec commented, I quote, "If you get in that car you'll be found dead in it by this time next week," and within the week he was. This was just the start of the car's curse. When a mechanic attempted to repair the car, it fell and crushed his legs. The car's new owner decided to sell the engine and drivetrain to 2 racers. One of the racers lost control of his car, hit a tree and died instantly. The other was injured when his car locked up and rolled over. 2 thieves tried to take pieces of the car, but they were both injured during the robbery. The car was then donated to the safety exhibit of the California Highway Patrol. The exhibit caught fire and the car had to be moved to a different exhibit. At the second exhibit, the car fell onto a student, breaking his hip. This meant that it was moved once again. It even managed to crush and kill a truck driver who was transporting it. It was since stolen, and there has been reports that the new owner is keeping the car hidden away, hopefully to stop any further damage. And finally, in at number 1 we have the Devil's Rocking Chair. The origin and creation of the rocking chair is unknown, but it was passed to the Glatzel family in the early 1950s. It lay dormant in the house just like any piece of furniture until the summer of 1980, when it became the center of the family's tragedy. It all started when David Glatzel woke up one night screaming. He told his family that he was visited by a man with big black eyes, a thin face with animal features, jagged teeth, pointed ears, horns and hoofs. Everyone who knew David knew he was not the type of person to make up this kind of thing, and he was clearly shaken by it. After this, it was believed that David was possessed. He became withdrawn and appeared to be depressed. His sister Debbie asked her fiance Arn Johnson to stay with David to make sure he was being watched over in case anything was to get worse. David continued to have nightmares, saying that the man promised to take his soul. He would often be covered in bruises and scratches he couldn't explain, and worst of all, he started to see the figure while he was awake, or was sat in the rocking chair. Family members would see the chair rocking, but only David could see the beast in the chair. Desperate for help, they brought in Ed and Lorraine Warren. They started to perform exorcisms regularly to help David, many with him seated in a rocking chair. The chair itself moved about the house on its own, mysteriously disappearing and reappearing in different places. Most incredibly, it levitated on numerous occasions in full view of witnesses, including the Warrens and shocked family members. It happened once while David was sitting in it during an exorcism. After the final exorcism, the devil did leave David, however, as it left him, it transferred into his sister's fiance Arn. He began slipping into trances for a period of months before killing his landlord Alan Bono with a 5-inch pocket knife, stabbing the man as Debbie watched. He tried to plead demonic possession in court, but the judge was not convinced. The family surprisingly held onto the chair for a number of years in storage, and when they moved, it came with them. They started to notice that when friends or family members sat in the chair, they would have strange things happen to them. One family member was unable to walk for 10 years after sitting in the chair. Today, the Devil's Rocking Chair is at the Haunted Museum. It was originally safely on display, but it began to cause issues with guests and people who work for the museum. They decided for the safety of everyone it needed to be locked away in storage where it could not hurt anyone else.